Good evening, travellers. Tonight, the fire is warm, the night is gentle, and the rain sings softly against the stone. Before we begin, take a moment to pour yourself a drink, maybe a cup of tea or warm milk, and settle in beside me here by the firelight. This is Nightly Tales, where stories of quiet wonder come alive. I'd love to know where you are listening from tonight, and what hour the stars find you. Let this story be a companion. If it brings you comfort, like and subscribe. Tonight, I will take you to Eldoria, where storms carried a night through forest paths and into the firelight of a princess. A night of reunion, of silences filled with meaning, of words nearly spoken and love quietly held. Lean back, breathe deeply, and let us begin. The rain came suddenly that evening, sweeping across the quiet hills of Eldoria. It softened the world, blurred the towers of the castle into distant silhouettes, and carried the scent of pine and wet earth. Down an old forest path rode a knight, armour dulled, cloak soaked, shoulder aching from battle. He was no longer the fresh defender of a crown, but the weary saviour of a kingdom. His name was known, sung and praised, but none of that mattered tonight. What mattered was the thought of her, Princess Sarah. In the heat of battle, when swords clashed and hope seemed faint, her memory had carried him. Her laughter, her voice, the light in her eyes, these had been his truest shield. And now, after so many campaigns, he returned not to war, not to duty, but to her. The storm deepened, the forest hushed. He let himself imagine her face at his arrival. Would she smile? Would her composure hide longing? His heart beat faster as the cabin came into view, smoke curling from its chimney like a promise. He dismounted, boots sinking into the softened earth. He raised his hand to knock, yet before he touched the wood, the door opened, and there she stood, Sarah, without silks, without crown, only a simple wool dress and the glow of firelight upon her hair. For a moment, even the storm hushed. "You've returned," she whispered. "I could not stay away," he said. Her gaze fell to the stain of blood at his shoulder. She reached for him without hesitation. "You're hurt." "It is nothing," he replied, though the wince betrayed him. She drew him inside. The fire crackled, rain softened against the roof, and at last he felt safe. Armour loosened under her hands, piece by piece, falling to the floor. She tended his wound with linen and warm water, her silence speaking more than words could. He watched her, how her hands trembled only slightly, how her care was a prayer in itself. Her presence undid him more than any enemy ever had. "Rest," she whispered at last. He obeyed, lowering himself into the chair by the fire. For the first time in years, he did not feel like a soldier. He felt like a man, simply, quietly, home. Night deepened, the rain softened, and the cabin's single window glowed warm against the dark. A kettle whispered over the coals. Sarah moved quietly, choosing herbs, mint for clarity, chamomile for rest, lemon balm for peace. The knight watched from the chair, blanket over his shoulders, marvelling at the small rituals of care. He had seen kingdoms saved, yet this, her making tea, her tending, her presence, was the greatest kind of magic. "Will you take honey?" she asked, turning toward him. "If you have it," he said. "I saved a little," she replied, a secret smile on her lips. She brought him the cup, their fingers brushing for an instant. Warmth against warmth, more powerful than any battle cry. He sipped. "It tastes of a gentle meadow." She sat across the hearth. "When you were gone, I brewed this and listened to the rain. I told myself, wherever you were, you could hear it too, as if the rain stitched us to the same night." He looked into the fire, On the road, in the marches, when storms came, I thought of you listening. It carried me through. Silence gathered, not empty, but full, like the tide carrying the moon. They ate simple stew, tore bread, and drifted into memories. Fairs in the lower town, winter mornings by the kitchen hearth, nights when the world seemed to give them permission to move slowly. None of the stories were grand, yet these quiet ones were the memories he had guarded most fiercely. Her laughter, her care, her presence. These had been his true homeland. When he praised her courage on the tower, the day Eldoria nearly fell, she confessed, "I held the standard, but it was your name I guarded." He bowed his head, then we guarded each other. The cabin held their silence gently, teaching them the art of leaving space for tender truths. The fire sank into its steady glow, painting the room in copper and gold. The night woke from untroubled sleep, rare, precious. "You slept," Sira said softly. "I did," he admitted, smiling faintly, too deeply, perhaps. "There is no such thing," she replied, "not when one has earned it." He breathed deeply, the peace of the cabin settling into his bones. "Steel is honest. Enemies are clear. What I fear are the faces I could not save." "And yet you carried that weight for us all," she said. "For me." Her voice dropped, almost a confession. "And if it carried you away from yourself, then I would help bring you back." His chest tightened. He looked at her, saw not only the princess, but the woman who had waited with tea, who had guarded his name in her heart. She asked gently, "Tell me, what do you dream of when you let yourself dream?" "I dream of rest, of laying down my sword because the world allows it, of walking without armor, of sitting beneath a tree without listening for footsteps, and sometimes I dream of you there." She lowered her gaze, cheeks warmed by firelight. "Then our dreams are not so different." At last, their hands brushed, fingers meeting softly, trembling. It was no grand vow, no royal oath, only the quiet truth of love carried too long in silence. For once, he allowed himself to believe he was home. And so, dear traveller, the fire glows low, the storm drifts away, and love lingers in the quiet spaces where words need not go. The knight and princess rest in their cabin by the woods, and the world outside grows still. Carry this peace with you tonight. Let the rain, the firelight, and the soft touch of love stay with you as you drift toward your own dreams. And when the next tale begins, I will be waiting here by the fire. Until then, rest well, dream deeply, and good night.